There's a quiet kind of person you may know well, the one who never replies, yet always sees everything. They read every message, notice every change, carry every word carefully in their mind. But when it comes to responding, their fingers pause, their thoughts tighten, something inside them hesitates. It's not disinterest, it's not avoidance. It's a private psychology built from years of overthinking, emotional caution, and a fear of saying the wrong thing. They care more than anyone realizes, and that is exactly why their silence often speaks louder than their words. There are people who move through conversations the way others move through crowded streets, carefully, quietly, and with an awareness that never really turns off. For them, communication is not a simple exchange. It is an emotional landscape. Every message, every pause, every tone carries layers most people never notice. They don't reply quickly, not because they don't care, but because they care so deeply that even the smallest interaction feels meaningful. They read everything. A message, a story update, a photograph, a passing thought someone shares online. Nothing escapes their attention. But instead of responding outwardly, their reaction happens internally. A swirl of feelings, thoughts, interpretations. They think about what you meant, why you said it, whether their response might sound too much or too little. They replay entire conversations in their mind, searching for clarity before a single word leaves their fingers. This is the first layer of their psychology, heightened emotional awareness, the kind that makes tiny moments feel heavier than they appear. To others, silence looks empty, but inside these individuals, silence is full of thinking, remembering, sensing, observing. They draft replies they never send, rewrite sentences that never reach the screen, hold back words not because they lack them, but because every word feels like a decision, one that can shift the balance of a relationship, or expose a part of themselves they're not ready to reveal. And so they read again, and again, waiting for the moment when their internal storm settles enough for clarity to emerge. But clarity doesn't always come quickly. For people who feel deeply, the emotional weight of small moments gathers quietly over time. A simple hello can carry memories of past misunderstandings. A question can remind them of moments when they were judged for saying too much. A request for a reply can stir the pressure of expectations they never learned to navigate. Their silence is not a wall, it is a pause, a breath, a space where they try to understand themselves before letting someone else understand them. You can watch them in real life and never know how much they notice, how much they absorb, how much they hold back to avoid the possibility of disappointing someone or exposing their vulnerability too openly. In these quiet observers, communication becomes both a longing and a burden, something they want, yet something that asks for more emotional energy than they can always give. This is where the story begins, with a person who cares intensely, yet communicates slowly. A person who watches everything, feels everything, but replies only when the waves inside them finally settle into something they can articulate. A person who is not silent, just overwhelmed by the meaning hidden inside every small moment. Silence doesn't appear suddenly. It is shaped, layer by layer, by moments a person rarely talks about. The subtle wounds, the early experiences, the small lessons life teaches before anyone realizes they are lessons. For many who read everything but reply slowly, the roots go back far. To childhood homes where emotions were watched, not expressed, where speaking up sometimes invited criticism, where mistakes were remembered longer than successes. They learned early that words carry consequences. A wrong tone could shift the atmosphere in a room. A misunderstood sentence could lead to tension. A simple question could be taken the wrong way. So they adapted. They learned to overthink before speaking, to check the emotional weather of a moment before stepping into it, to listen more than they contributed, not because they didn't have anything to say, but because speaking felt like navigating a landscape full of invisible tripwires. In school or early friendships, the pattern strengthened. Maybe they were mocked for being too emotional, or too quiet, or too slow to respond. Maybe someone once asked, "Why are you overthinking so much?" And the question itself became another reason to hold back. Slowly, silence became safer than explanation. And yet, these individuals kept observing. They became the ones who noticed when someone was sad, even if no one else did. The ones who remembered small details, the ones who could sense tension before anyone said a word. Observation became their skill. Expression became their struggle. Psychologists often call this learned emotional inhibition, a behavioral pattern formed when expressing oneself felt risky, unpredictable, or unwelcomed. Over time, the brain associates speaking with vulnerability and vulnerability with danger. So the person grows up careful, measured, quiet in the moments others rush into. Their silence is not emptiness, it is self-protection rehearsed over years. And then comes the digital age, a world of constant messages, constant expectations, constant availability. A world where replies are timed, notifications are public, and silence is often misinterpreted as disinterest. For someone with their history, this environment intensifies old patterns. Suddenly, communication is not just talking, it is performing, responding correctly, quickly, appropriately, and so they read everything. But answering becomes another moment that feels like it could go wrong. The roots are deep, a childhood that taught caution, a past filled with moments where they felt misunderstood, an emotional memory that still whispers, "Think before you speak, and then think again." This is where the silence began, not in the present moment, not in adulthood, but in the early shadows where their relationship with words was first shaped. A silence born not from apathy, but from a lifetime of wanting to avoid the pain of being misunderstood. Inside every person who reads everything but replies slowly, there is delicate psychology at work, a mosaic of emotional patterns shaped by sensitivity, fear, hope, and an instinct to protect themselves from harm. Not dramatic harm, not visible harm, but the subtle emotional discomfort that comes from being misread, misjudged, or misunderstood. Psychology calls it rejection-sensitive processing, the brain's tendency to pause when it senses the possibility of negative reactions. These individuals don't just consider what they want to say, they consider how it might be interpreted, how it might shift the tone, how it might affect the connection. And so their mind begins to work in loops. A message arrives, they open it instantly. Their chest tightens slightly, not in fear but in caution. Their brain scans the words for emotional context. Are you upset? Are you distant? Are you expecting something? Are you simply sharing? They absorb every detail before they even think about replying. Psychologists also describe another mechanism at play: emotional hyper-awareness. These individuals feel small signals intensely, the silence between two messages, the difference between a period and an exclamation mark, the shift in someone's tone. Their mind fills in meaning where others see nothing. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a form of emotional intelligence. But when a person doesn't yet trust their voice, intelligence turns into hesitation. And then there's decision fatigue. The mental exhaustion that comes from analyzing every message, every response, every possible reaction. For someone who already interprets communication deeply, even choosing where to begin a conversation can feel like standing on a tightrope. Part of them wants to reply immediately. Another part holds their hand back, afraid the message won't come out right, or won't match the energy, or won't reflect what they truly feel. This becomes their inner conflict, a longing to connect and a fear of getting it wrong. But eventually something soft begins to shift inside them. A realization emerges, not sudden, not powerful, but gentle. Their silence is not failure, it is a habit, a response learned in moments when their voice felt unsafe. And habits can change when understanding enters the space where judgment once lived. When they begin to see that not every message needs the perfect reply, not every pause is a threat, not every word carries danger. Their response time doesn't magically transform, but their self-perception begins to soften. The pressure loosens. Their thoughts quiet just enough for the possibility of ease to enter. The story doesn't end with them replying instantly. It ends with something smaller yet far more meaningful. A peaceful acceptance of their own pace. A realization that their silence has always been a shield, and shields can be lowered slowly, gently, without force. When the world finally feels safe enough to speak in.